In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to keep clients in your coaching business for 12 months or more. This is going to help you to shift your thinking and to change your mindset around money in your coaching business. It's not spiritual, it's not woo-woo, it's a perspective, it's a way of looking at your business and a way of looking at the world that actually then translates into action. So this is going to be very tactical. There's stuff you can take away from this straight away and start making more money. I actually had a client come into my community and immediately start making more money, not by signing more clients, but by upselling her current clients to a higher level of service within her first week in the community. She didn't even have to find any more leads. She literally just turned up her monthly recurring revenue by having a couple of conversations with current clients. So this is the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about. But yesterday I was on a mastermind with a group of coaches and we started talking about client retention and how to actually keep clients in the business for longer. And so I decided, instead of just having a full Q&A style mastermind, which we do twice a week usually within my community, we would turn the session into an impromptu session and training on retention and on how to keep clients in the business. So we did that, and I'll run you through that, but it got me thinking a little bit more about how people view business. And a lot of the time, coaches and creators, they come into the coaching space as coaches or as creators. They're good at creating content or they're good at servicing clients, but they're not good at business. They don't understand business, and they think very one-dimensionally. They think like a coach or a creator, not like a business owner. And this is such a powerful shift to make from coach or creator to entrepreneur / business owner, and to change the hats that you're wearing in your business and to start thinking bigger. So when a big company brings out a product, they are not planning to just sell you the product once. So let's take Apple, for example. Apple brings out a smartphone. Now, they are not looking to just sell you the smartphone, which in the online coaching space, this might be your one-time coaching program, right? Your big thing that you sell. Now, most coaches look at like, how can I create more revenue and more sales and more profit in my business? And they look at, well, I can increase the prices of the main thing and I can sign more clients. But that is a really, really one-dimensional way to look at things. For sure, selling more things and increasing prices is going to help. But a big company like Apple, they look at something else. They look at lifetime value of each client. So not only are they looking at signing more clients at a higher price, but they're also looking at how can I maximize the lifetime value of the client that comes into the business. So with Apple, you buy the iPhone, but they also then have the features that allow you to sync up other Apple devices. So just by having an iPhone, especially if you use your phone for work, it's valuable for you to have a MacBook as well, because you can airdrop, you can sync things up, so everything on your phone also comes up on your computer. You can buy AirPods, which also sync up to all your devices. They work very well. It's pretty seamless integration. You can buy storage. You can buy things through the App Store where Apple take a percentage. You can boost posts on Instagram and Apple take a 40% cut on what you boost. So Apple are not just looking at the kind of front end thing that you buy. And an important thing to understand is there's two different types of revenue and there's two different types of sales you can make. You can make front end revenue, which is what a client pays you on the front end. And you can make back end revenue, which is what the client pays after the initial purchase, right? So there's the first initial purchase that brings them in. And maybe this is the iPhone, or maybe it's the iPad for Apple. Maybe it's a smaller purchase. They get the iPad, they like the functionality. Then because they've bought the iPad, they're on a mailing list for the iPhone, the new iPhone to come out. Then they buy the iPhone. Then the next thing that they buy is the storage, the AirPods. So the front end revenue might be the iPod, but the back end is the iPhone, the storage, the AirPods, I don't know if Apple do insurance, they probably do, but the money they spend on the App Store, the commissions they take there, the money they spend on Facebook ads, the commissions they take there if they use those services. So the front end might be quite small. I don't know what an iPod costs, or an iPod, that's another one, right? iPod is another kind of thing that they could sell you. I don't even know if they still make those, by the way. I'm not very good on technology. But the front end revenue is the first thing that you buy. And companies who are making a lot of money are not making their money on the front end. They're making their money on the front end and the back end combined. And they have an ecosystem of offers and products and services that solve different problems for their clients. Now, before we go any further, because you might be sitting here listening to this thinking, so wait, you're just telling me to like try and extract as much money as possible from clients. And it's not that. It's how can we be so valuable to our clients that they want to stay around, that they want to be part of what we're building, that they choose us to solve their problems and to provide solutions to those problems. That's what we're trying to do and how we're trying to position ourselves. It's not about extracting money from people. It's about injecting so much value that people are actually happy to pay you money and to stay there. So it's not like we're trying to squeeze money out of people or anything like that. We're trying to make ourselves so valuable that money just flows to us because we're solving problems and we're giving people a great experience. I have a MacBook, an iPhone, AirPods, and I will just always have them because they are so good. Yes, they're way more expensive. Yes, the battery is maybe not as good as other phones. Yes, I could get another phone with better storage, but having those three devices is an absolute game changer for my business. It's seamless. I like the products. I like the functionality. I love AirDrop. I love the fact that things sync up. And Apple have successfully acquired me as a lifetime customer. I will continuously buy Apple iPhones, MacBooks, AirPods, unless something better comes out. But even if something better comes out, I'm a loyal customer. I really love Apple as a brand. I have bought into their brand identity. And so it would have to be something magnificently better for me to actually change. If it was marginally better, I probably wouldn't change. So Apple have successfully acquired me as a lifetime customer for as long as they continue to provide value and continue to make my life better and easier with their products. Back on track. Front end, back end revenue. Two different types of income. So when it comes to retention, which is what I started this video with, we discussed two different pieces of the retention puzzle that we need to solve to maximize client lifetime value and retention rates. So first and foremost, we should have a few different products for people before they become clients. Now, when I'm taking a conversation or a call with somebody, I am usually assessing where they are in the journey and which of my products or services is actually the best fit for them and the one they are most likely to say yes to. So I'm not necessarily pitching the highest price or the most expensive or most valuable service that I have. In fact, the majority of the time, I am not pitching that the first time I come into contact with somebody, but I'm actually pitching them something that is built for acquisition. So it's easy to say yes to, it's low risk for them, it's relatively low investment for them, but it's very high return. So it's something that they look at and they go, yeah, look, this is a 6-week thing. I'm not locked in for 6 months or 12 months. It's not a 4-figure investment. It's a small amount of money. And I can see how I'm going to make an ROI on this. It's an easy yes. So that's the first kind of offer that somebody will come into my business on. Aside from smaller like paid products and services and things like this that they can, try one-time things, which I do as well. But in terms of actually joining my mastermind community, the first thing that they can come on at is that kind of lower tier, lower investment option. Now, depending on the person and depending on what the offer is, I run different offers at different times. So sometimes it's a 6-week thing, sometimes it's a 12-week, sometimes it's a 20-week. It just depends when you come in. And if you miss the 6-week thing and you come back a few weeks later and it's the 20-week thing, well, okay, you gotta either take the 20-week thing or wait until the next 6-week thing comes around. But the point here is that this is one of many offers. And then inside my program, I have got other offers. So for example, I've got mastermind access, and then I've also got one-to-one coaching. I've got one-to-one elite coaching, I've got one-to-one standard, and the only difference here is the proximity to me. So one-to-one elite is a ton of my time, a ton of my energy, me doing a lot of done for you stuff for my clients. One-to-one standard is me doing a lot of work for them, but not giving them as much of my time. And then mastermind is me showing them the ropes, giving them the system, skills and strategies, giving them accountability and support for them to go and do the work and bring it back to me and report for essentially feedback or help or whatever they need. So each client who comes to me has a different starting point, but it's all built into my client journey. And this is the first thing that we need to be clear on when it comes to retention. We need to have a clear client journey. We need to know what it looks like if we take a client on and have them for 12 months. If you want to retain a client for 12 months, you need to know what that 12 months looks like. You cannot expect a client to come and tell you what the 12 months should look like. So if you don't know what the 12 months looks like, it's going to be very hard for you to retain anyone for 12 months because you don't even know what you're selling them. Now, if you bring somebody in on a 6 or an 8 or a 10 or a 12-week program, that should be the first step in a 12-month journey or transformation. It doesn't have to be 12 months, but 12 months is a good number to look at in terms of having a client journey. Now, if you want to maximize somebody staying in the business, as you're coaching them through the first step of the journey, which may be an easy to say yes to step, you are selling them on that long-term vision and that long-term transformation. You're explaining how they can continue to move towards this big goal that they have. And usually when you're working with somebody, they have a big goal and you're only bringing them in to solve a small part of the big goal. But if you can show them how, hey, I can now help you solve the next part of the problem to get to that big goal and the next part, that is how you can get them to actually stay in the business. So you can get them to stay emotionally by showing them the client journey and showing them what's next and getting them to emotionally buy into the person they can become, the next level of the current journey that they're on, the value that you can provide and the outcome that you can guide them to with this next step of the journey. So that's the first piece. If you don't have a client journey, it's going to be very hard to retain somebody. Now, depending on your niche, the journeys may look different. Maybe it's 3 different phases of 4 months. Maybe it's 4 phases of 3 months. Maybe it's 1 6-month phase and 2 3-month phases. It really depends. An easy example of this is the bodybuilding style of training, right? You already have a built-in client journey. You have a 3 or a 4 month fat loss phase, you have a couple of months maintenance, and you have 6 or 8 months of a gaining phase or whatever it works out to be. So you already have a built-in client journey there, and that's a very easy one to kind of talk people through and sell them on the next step. So emotionally, you need to be able to sell them on where they are going and what the next step of the journey is because they don't know it. This is where back-end revenue comes in as well. So if we're just looking at, like, I sell a 12-week plan for 250 euros a month, 750 euro, I want to increase my revenue, I need to up the price of the 12-week plan, or I need to get more people to buy the 12-week plan. We're missing the fact that if we could get somebody to buy a 12-month plan, we would actually 4x the cash collected and the revenue generated from that one client. So if we're only looking at the front end and not the back end, then we're never going to be able to truly grow to our capability because we're playing at 25% when we could actually be 4xing the income that each client can potentially bring into the business. So with the back end revenue, potentially, if I wanted to maximize sales on that program, right, a 12-week program for 750 euros, potentially I would actually focus on selling a 6-week program first so that more people would say yes because it's a little bit easier to get people into. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, I would sell them on a 20-week program after they've kind of trialed the first thing. And so this sequence of offers internally for your clients, this money flow that brings people to the next step of the client journey, might mean that I sell people at 6 weeks, but if I have the right model and the right offer at the end of the 6 weeks, every 6-week sign up could easily turn into a 26-week sign up, which would be more than double if I was just selling people on 12 weeks. Now, you can work out all the numbers on this, and there's lots of different ways to do it. But the point here is you can emotionally sell people on the next step of the journey by giving them a clear understanding of what the client journey looks like, and then you can logically justify it. So let me give you an example of what that looks like, because people buy out of emotion, but they justify the purchase out of logic. And we basically need to fulfill both of these in order for somebody to make a purchase and stay with us and realize the value that they're getting. First and foremost, we need to deliver a great service. We need to be really good at what we do. We need to deliver value for people, and we need to understand what problems we are solving. And entrepreneurs solve problems. Coaches just coach people. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers, and there's always problems to solve. So we need to be looking for problems, and the bigger the problem we solve, the more money we can get paid to solve that problem. So we need to be in problem solving mode first and foremost. And if we have different offers, we can then actually set up a little bit of an offer flow internally, where when somebody finishes the first block, they've paid us the front end revenue, they've finished the first block. Now we can actually guide them into the second phase of the journey, and we can hit them with another offer that they maybe don't see in the front end, that's actually maybe an offer for more than what they initially came into the business on. So I can give you an example of this, and we want to incentivize them and make it logically a good idea for them to invest as well. So I can give you an exact example of this. I had an 8-week intake of coaches and creators a few months ago, and somebody came for that 8-week intake, and they paid me €100 a week for the 8 weeks to come into the mastermind level of my coaching. And in that time frame, over the 8 weeks, they added 1.5k monthly recurring revenue to their business. So they did about a 4x on their investment in 8 weeks. They were incredibly happy, delighted. At the end of the 8 weeks, they were asking me, okay, what are the next steps here? Because we finished the 8 weeks, but I've had a great experience. We sat down and had a call. Now, I would never have pitched this person on working with me upfront, one-to-one, for 12 weeks at the beginning, because the number was maybe too big and too scary for them when they hadn't spent time with me. And the number I wouldn't have been able to reduce the rate for them in any way, because they were just a new client coming in. What actually happened was, at the end of the 8 weeks, I had a call with this person. We deep dived on what their next steps were. They wanted to add another 2 or 3k monthly recurring revenue and just kind of bolster the business to make sure that this is the new baseline and we're not going to drop back below this at any point. So we're not just having one spike up and then we're going back down, but we're actually locking this in as the new norm. And after a conversation, I said, well, look, in order to get this done as fast as possible and to grow this business as fast as possible, the best option for you is one-to-one. Now, one-to-one is considerably more expensive than mastermind coaching. And I wouldn't have offered one-to-one at the start, but I explained that we can work together on this one-to-one, and I am willing to reduce the money that you paid for the first block of coaching from the one-to-one block. And it's a one-time offer. So if you say no to it, that's absolutely fine, but it won't be available for you at another point in time. This is the only point in time where you can actually take the money you've paid and discount it against the next leg of the journey. Okay, and so this is something that you can do where you can actually use the money that somebody has paid you and leverage that to actually get them to stay in the program. They get a great deal. You can upsell them to the next tier. Now, you have to have an upsell pathway, because if I came along and I just offered them 12 weeks of mastermind and then I discounted 8 weeks of mastermind, that would mean that I'm now coaching them for 12 weeks and they're only paying for 4 because I've discounted 8. So you need to actually have something higher ticket where it's a better service for them, there's more value for them, they're going to get more results, but it's a bigger number that you're discounting the initial thing that they paid from. And this is how you actually build out a model that logically makes sense, where this person sat on the phone and went, okay, wow, this is good. I kind of feel a bit silly saying no to this, because I'm basically, I've been in the program for 8 weeks. I've done a 4x on my investment. It's been incredible. I can just see how this is helping my business grow. And now I can get even closer to you and get one-to-one coaching from you to make this happen even faster. And I also am getting a huge discount of the money I've already paid, which effectively means that this is going against something else. Amazing. Okay, it's great. To further that, I also could then offer a discount for upfront, right? So there was a discount of, if you lock this price in for the next 12 weeks at 1-to-1, this is the investment, I will knock this amount off. But if you go up front, I'll also knock a further X amount off. And so what actually happened was this client said, yes, I'm going to sign up for 12 weeks at 1-to-1, paid up front. And that basically meant that the lifetime value of my client has now gone from coming in at 8 weeks to 20 weeks. But at the end of the 20 weeks, there will be a very logical reason for them to stay, because they will have got serious value from the 1-to-1. They will have got more value from the 1-to-1 than they did initially. And now we've got more leverage to use, and we've built a deeper relationship, and we've furthered things on, and they're going to the next leg of the journey. Now, by the end of that 12-week period, we will be looking at the next step of the client journey. And there I can again use the money that they've already paid to take a slight discount towards the next stage of the journey, so that they can see the journey and emotionally they're bought in, but logically there's a financial incentive for them to actually stay in the program and keep working with me long term. Now, before you go, oh, but Owen, you shouldn't be discounting your prices, and are you not losing money and all of this? You should never discount prices publicly to people who are strangers to you and who don't come into your business. Discounting is a massive, massive red flag on the outside. But inside, if you're working with loyal customers and clients who you care about, who you have a good relationship with, who you want to see win, and who also add value to your community, then giving them a discount is a perfectly reasonable thing to do, and actually a really good business move. Now, on top of that, you are upselling them to a higher level of support. So you're bringing somebody in at a level that is easy for them to enter. You're building the trust and authority, and you're getting them results in that first phase, to then at the end of that phase pitch them on the bigger thing, which if you pitched at the start would be much harder to sell. As you pitch them on the bigger thing, the number that you charge them for the bigger thing goes up. And so although you discount the initial number, the amount that you charge is still a huge amount compared to what you would have done if you had just, sold them the first 8-week thing. Anyway, on top of that, you don't have the extra costs of client acquisition, finding leads, taking sales calls, trying to figure out if they're a good fit, having to set them up. You reduce a huge amount of money and time expense by retaining your client. So although you may actually discount the rate slightly to keep the client in the business, the likelihood that the client stays over a 12, 18, even 24-month period is significantly higher. And I don't know the stats, but after people stay with me 6-7 months, most of them tend to stay in years, right? Once they've crossed the 6-7 month mark and they're flying and they're getting the results, most of them actually stay a year and more, okay? So the lifetime value of that client, if you were selling the €750 fitness program, if you sell it one time, you're getting €750. But if you can keep a great client in the business, they might actually pay you €5,000 over the next year and a half. And if you only get, a handful of those clients, it's going to make your business a lot more stable. It's going to make you really, really well respected, because your clients are staying and your clients are basically your poster people, and they will be speaking about you and telling people, yes, I've been with this person for a year. The social proof that shows if someone has chosen to stay with you for a year is absolutely massive. And you save all this time and money in terms of setup costs and just finding the right people and getting people in and having churn and stuff over and back. And you can radically change the lifetime value of one client with other services such as bolt-ons. So you can run a full day webinar or a full day seminar or exercise execution workshop or mastermind or something like this. You can sell clients tickets to that on top of it. And again, we're not just trying to extract money from people. We are trying to give them so much value that they just want to give you money, right? And that is the thing. If you can solve problems and you can do it in a way that is better than other people, and you can make it emotionally and logically the right decision for somebody, people will stay in the business for a long, long time. And this all comes down to the model that you operate with, the stack of offers that you have both externally and internally, and the way that you think about money, and the way that you think about sales, and the way that you think about lifetime value and retention, and thinking like an entrepreneur and not a coach or a creator.